Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going to dive into a topic that literally affects every single one of us multiple times a day, our food. Specifically, we're looking at how artificial intelligence and robotics are stepping in to completely rewire and, honestly, rescue our increasingly fragile global food supply chain. This isn't just science fiction anymore. We are watching the fourth industrial revolution happen right now, right out on our farms and inside our factories. To really understand why this revolution is so absolutely crucial, we have to start by looking at the sheer scale of the challenge we're up against. We are facing a massive macro problem. According to data from the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization, by the year 2050, the global population is projected to hit an astounding 9.1 billion people. Think about that, 9.1 billion mouths to feed. It completely reshapes the entire landscape of global demand.
To sustain that booming population, estimates suggest we've got to figure out a way to bump up our global food supply by a massive 70%. But here's the catch, and it's a really big one. We have to achieve this insane increase without further depleting our natural resources. We already know that agricultural expansion is a huge driver of greenhouse gas emissions, so we can't just go out and hack down more forests or drain more rivers. We have to get exponentially smarter about how we produce what we eat. So it all boils down to this. How exactly do we feed the future when our traditional systems are already stretched to the absolute breaking point? How do we scale up by 70% while somehow reducing our environmental footprint? The answer requires a fundamental shift away from the legacy processes we've relied on for decades. This brings us to part one, the COVID-19 supply chain shock, a look at a very fragile system.
Let's dive into this by remembering what happens when our highly human-reliant network actually breaks down. The COVID-19 pandemic acted as a brutal stress test for the global food system. And frankly, the system failed in some pretty spectacular ways. According to the International Monetary Fund, it shocked things so severely that it negatively impacted roughly 90% of the entire global economy. Because our supply chains are so incredibly complex and rely so heavily on manual human labor at every single stage, when people couldn't physically go to work, the entire chain basically just froze. The real-world chaos we experienced was unbelievable. We actually saw global GDP contract by 4.9% in 2020. Lockdown ports created these massive cargo backlogs just because vendors couldn't pick up their goods. Facility closures completely disrupted production lines, and a staggering 35% of manufacturers experienced total supply chain network failures. It became immediately clear that relying solely on human labor in tight, vulnerable processing environments was a massive liability. We desperately needed a more resilient solution. Which leads us to part two. Enter AI and robotics. Let's demystify the technology. To make sure a collapse of that magnitude never happens again, the food industry is turning aggressively to the fourth industrial revolution. By bringing cutting-edge tech into the supply chain, they're aiming to guarantee food safety, maintain immaculate hygiene, and unlock non-stop efficiency. And this whole revolution? It's entirely data-driven. It is fueled by an absolutely staggering 44 trillion gigabytes of digital data expected to be generated globally every year. By capturing data from farm environments, machinery, and the crops themselves, this tech uses that vast pool of information to optimize every single step of food production in real time. Now, we should clarify what we mean when we say this tech. We're not just talking about a standard factory machine here. The term AI robotic refers to an intelligent robot that combines physical automation with advanced computer vision, essentially giving the machine eyes. By combining those eyes with machine learning algorithms, the robot can make smart, real-time decisions on the factory floor, like detecting product defects, maneuvering around obstacles, and sorting materials entirely on its own. To really grasp the leap we're taking, think about the legacy technology we're used to. Conventional robotics is basically just the mechanical body doing rigorous, pre-programmed, repetitive tasks over and over again. AI robotics adds the critical brain. It uses machine learning to actually adapt to its surroundings and operates autonomously without us having to intervene. It's this perfect marriage of physical capability and cognitive intelligence, making it as adaptable as a human worker, but without the physical limitations. And the push for this brain-body combination isn't just some science experiment. It is a massive economic race. The global food automation market was projected to double, reaching an incredible $2.5 billion by the year 2022. Companies are throwing money at this because they know autonomous operations are the only viable way to meet that rising demand, while protecting themselves against future labor shortages. Let's look at how this plays out in Part 3, Tech on the Farm, Autonomous Harvesting. We can trace this farm-to-table journey starting right at the source, out in the dirt where the digital transformation truly begins. Take agricultural harvesting, for instance. Look at the fruit-picking robot developed by FR Robotics. It doesn't just blindly hack at branches. It autonomously drives up to a tree, sets its stabilizers, and then uses deep learning imaging to actually judge an apple's color, size, and ripeness. If it's ready, it gently uses a specialized three-fingered gripper to grab and twist the fruit off. Honestly, with a softer touch than most of us use at the grocery store. Then, it just automatically navigates to the next section of the orchard. It is precision farming at its absolute finest. But this automation isn't just limited to crops. It extends straight into livestock and poultry farming, too. In modern poultry facilities, AI robots are constantly monitoring flock behavior and health to eliminate mortality rates. They handle tedious tasks like egg collection and maintain ultra-hygienic environmental conditions. All this data gets fed into cloud servers where the AI processes it, continually learning how to make better, more consistent judgments to actually protect the bird's welfare. Moving down the chain, we get to Part 4, Processing and Smart Logistics, Precision and Hygiene. Once harvested, the food heads to processing facilities, which traditionally have been a major bottleneck and a high risk for foodborne contamination. Now, you might be wondering, how does a giant, heavy metal robot handle soft food without turning it into absolute mush? Well, modern grippers use these incredible fluid finger pneumatic systems. By constantly monitoring fluid pressure, these robotic hands provide a grip so incredibly delicate, they can handle sushi, soft tofu, or even a potato chip without leaving a single crumb or bruise. It totally removes the need for human hands in these super sensitive processes. Meanwhile, major food producers are using AI for extreme quality control. Over in Japan, QP Corporation is leveraging Google's TensorFlow machine learning in their visual inspection systems. The AI visually scans thousands of diced potatoes as they fly down the production line and instantly detects and plucks out any defective pieces. It's way faster and vastly more accurate than the human eye could ever hope to be. After processing, the food enters what's known as Logistics 4.0. Autonomous indoor robots take over the warehouse floor using complex pathfinding algorithms to safely zip around and move commodities. This completely eliminates those exact manual warehouse bottlenecks that triggered the COVID-19 supply chain collapse we talked about earlier. Plus, integrated sensors give us end-to-end traceability from farm to table, ensuring food safety while simultaneously lowering carbon emissions and logistics costs. Bringing us to our final part, Section 5, the future of food. Sustainability and AI. Wrapping up this explainer, it becomes super clear that integrating AI and robotics across the supply chain is about way more than just corporate efficiency or shiny new factory gadgets. It is fundamentally about our long-term survival. As the research highlights, by replacing those vulnerable manual processes with smart automated systems, we are building truly sustainable business models. These AI-driven systems protect our natural resources, lessen environmental harm, and ensure that we can actually meet that daunting 70% increase in food demand without completely wrecking the planet in the process. We are standing on the edge of a massive transformation right now, with a global population barreling towards 9.1 billion, and unprecedented technological leaps happening on farms and inside factories every single day. It really makes you stop and wonder who or what will be preparing your very next meal. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how the world around you is being built.